This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, my name is Novo Mana, and I'm here hosting the Technology Review Council. We are sponsored as partners by IREM and Collective HR Solutions, and I'm very, very pleased today to have Klaus Wilhelm here to present to us on Percival. And I'm going to ask Klaus to talk a little bit about his background, how he got to where he is, and actually tell us a little bit about what Percival means. So, Klaus, you are on.
Hi, Nov. Thank you for the invitation. I'm a software developer and an entrepreneur in the software space. I'm a partner at a few software development and digital products companies. And I created Percival for myself. My company, my team was growing. We had 40, 50 people in two different cities, right? A development team. And people were knocking at my door. Just a second. Let me choose the share screen here. Okay. So I started the tool for myself, right? I had 40, 50 people in my team. And people were coming to tell me, to ask me, hey, Klaus, I've been so many years and have never, got a raise. And that person has already got a raise. And so every week I was sort of negotiating with people. And I was thinking as the team grew, I was thinking, look, I'm not going to do anything else with my time, right? Other than negotiate and appraise people's work. And I didn't want to create an intermediary management level just to appraise people. We had no other reason to create an intermediate management level. Teams were autonomous. Teams were doing really well, and so I thought I want a solution. I want a way for the team themselves to tell me how much each person should get. Right. I wanted them to like share a cake. So we had the salary budget. I wanted them to tell me what percentage of the salary budget each person should get. Not tell me in absolute terms how much each person should get. Otherwise, it's the same problem with traditional 360-degree reviews. Well, when everyone, no one wants to be the bad guy and say, okay, so this person went bad this time. So it becomes a political process, right? Everyone will appraise each other well, and everyone will deserve a raise. That's not what I wanted. I wanted them to share like a zero sum, a fixed salary budget without increasing the salary budget. And there simply did not exist any solution for that. Okay, so I created Percival. I used it as a secret weapon in my companies for many years. And last year we opened it to the market, and 10 other companies are using it since. An American company called The Ready from Aaron Dignan. I don't know if maybe you might know that company. And the name Percival means it's a reference to the um, to the night, right? Night of the round table, where everyone had a seat at the table, and no one, everyone had a voice there. That's why it was a round table. But it's also a portmanteau, right, of the words perceived value. You put the words perceived value together, and you get Percival. So Percival is the only tool that allows teams to split a pie fairly, whatever the pie is: salary budgets, bonus, even equity. Okay, the Ready used to every year create new equity and share it among the partners using Percival, 20 or so partners. It applies an elegant algorithm to the appraisals and produces precise, actionable results with no calibration required from management. Management can still have oversight if you want to fix something. You can, but a team that it's 100% flat with no managers can use Percival, no problem at all. It's collaborative, intuitive, low effort, and low stress. The outcomes for the team are a better perception of transparency and fairness, more and better collaboration, less individualism, greater engagement, and turnover reduction up to 67% was what we observed at one of our clients. Okay. Another way to think about Percival is the next step in the evolution of 360-degree reviews. Nav, can you hear me okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I just didn't want to talk for an hour by myself.
No, look, I guarantee you, I will stop you from not having any problem, visual, audio, or otherwise.
Okay, cool. Why is this so important? How important is pay fairness to a team? Okay, so Payscale did a survey with more than 500,000 employees. Okay, and they asked several things in the survey, and they realized that the way employees feel about fairness and transparency in the process, in the compensation process, is 4.5 times more impactful on how satisfied they are than how they're paid relative to the market. Okay, so this yellow bar here is how impactful it is to compare their pay versus the market, and fairness, transparency, and fairness is this red bar here. This was what they found. And this here, this is Payscale's business. So even they're in the business of market salary information. Their study showed that fairness in the process is much more important. And this is our business. This is the business of Percival. Okay, to making sure the process is fair and collaborative. We intuitively we know this, right? Even if you have anyone who had brothers and sisters more or less the same age, or anyone who has children today, right? You know, it's better to arrive home with no presents at all, no gifts, rather than a small gift for one kid and a big, expensive gift for the other kid. They'll fight. There'll be there'll be stress and drama and resentment, and so it's even better to have no gifts at all than to have unfairly distributed gifts, right? It's more effective to pay team members fairly than it is to pay them more. Um, there's a famous story a few years back. A guy named Dan Price, if I'm not mistaken, he raised the minimum, the base salary for everyone in his company to $75,000, and good people left because they thought it wasn't fair. So he paid more, and he lost talent because what he did was considered unfair with the more tenured people. Okay, so if you pay fairly, you can spend less on salary and get better results.
So, Klaus, are you
Yep.
willing to ask a couple of questions as we go through this?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay.
I prefer.
So the obvious perspective, and there's many organizations that are very structured in positions, and those positions have bands of salary ranges and so on. And if you've
Hmm.
got a diverse team of that nature, how do you see, or how do you imagine the Percival has a leverage in there and as advantage with, using that from, let's say, as a manager trying to pay my staff, my team that's out here with all these different skills and different levels, if you will, that goes through there.
So typically companies will have these many different levels, right? Someone still has to decide who is in each level. The pay might be set, might be even the market might set the pay for all of these levels, but someone has to decide who's ready for promotion, who's ready to, right? So typically managers will use Percival's results to make these kinds of promotion decisions, and you won't have like a variable pay directly defined by Percival. You'll use Percival as an input to make these decisions. And if these functions, let's say, right, these pay grades and these positions, if they're really well defined in small boxes, and work is more or less individual work, then it's okay. It's easier to measure. But if you have teams which are collaborating all the time, and they're multi-skilled and diverse, autonomous, adaptive, agile teams, right? If you have agile teams collaborating all the time, how do you know how much each person is collaborating? You do not want to put people into small boxes, into small position boxes with very strict definitions, because I don't want this person to be a back end developer, or a front end developer, or a designer, or just a closer, a salesman, a closer. I want these people to learn and get new skills and collaborate all the time and share knowledge I don't want them to hoard knowledge, right? So how do I, in a team which is collaborative, how do I measure, how do I appraise how much each person has contributed? I have to ask the team. Okay, it's like a school project. The teacher assigns a school project, maybe 5 kids, right? We all know that 1 or 2 kids did the actual project, and the other ones just put their name on the cover, right? The teacher might not know who the people were who actually did the work, but the team knows. The team knows exactly how much each person contributed. Okay, and it's inevitable. I put here on the bottom, right? Subjective appraisal. It is inevitable that this appraisal is subjective. If you have a collaborative team, a multi-skilled team, there is no way that you can create like a review, like an appraisal with many forms with many criteria and scales for each criteria. Someone has to transform this result into a pay scale decision. There is no formula which you can apply, okay? Because you also get the appraisal inflation problem. People will be kind to each other. It's a political thing. Yeah, I help you, you help me, and you'll get salary inflation if you do a direct formula from any sort of absolute objective attempt of an appraisal. So inevitably it has to be a subjective step. Most companies will have the manager decide this step, or they might have a committee, right? It's a calibration committee with maybe the manager and the HR person, 2 or 3 managers from different teams to make sure that they calibrate, make sure one manager isn't much stricter than the other or one is much kinder than the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
To calibrate among teams. But still, it's a subjective step. So Percival embraces the subjectivity. People will do a subjective appraisal, but they will do it within the team. It will not be a separate entity, a separate manager or a group. If there are more questions, just
Um,
just send them
yeah,
on. Yeah.
you kind of addressed it at the front of this, but I'll iterate Bruce Walton's question about how does fairness get determined? Which, in all honesty, I think you're leading into that real quickly.
Yeah, I will. So one thing is we want to capture each person's expression of fairness, right? Fairness is different to different people. Being subjective, it's impossible to for everyone to agree. So people will have different opinions, different visions, and we want to integrate that, and that's perfectly okay. The only thing we have to take care of, we have to pay attention is what if people cheat? Okay, what if people use silly criteria like, oh, I don't like this person because he roots for a different team, so I'm going to put him down. Something like that. We just have to take care of some absurdities, like, or people cheating, right? I say, hey, no, if you appraise me 1 or 2 levels above, and I'll appraise you 1 or 2 levels above, and we're okay, right? If there's cheating going on, I'll speak in a moment how we can detect that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is compounded, right? It's worse if you have a larger team, which is, let's say, an engineering team, software engineering team from a large company, split into sub teams. Like so each of these dots is a person. The colors are the sub teams, like squads, for example, and the lines are appraisals, which people can do. It's the people who are capable of appraising each other. Inside the team, most people kind of appraise each other, but within teams, only a few, right? You get a few lines only crossing among teams. And a client of ours used to spend like 22 hours every performance cycle, just in the calibration phase. So it's like three work days every quarter just to do calibration among teams. So ideally, right, traditional 360-degree reviews. Ideally, you would have people doing the reviews here on the left, right? The teams doing these reviews, using something like bars, right? Behaviorally anchored rating scales. And ideally, you could, with these reviews, apply a formula or something, and you can get the share of the pie, how much each person should get, right? How large each slice of the, you know, how much each person should get, how much each person has contributed, right? Unfortunately, if you try to do that, you will get this inflation effect, right, in which people will simply say, look, everyone deserves raises. So you need management. You necessarily have to management to come in and moderate this and calibrate this. Okay, there is no way you can use an absolute scale review to generate salaries directly or pay scales directly. So what happens is, how is this patched, right? How is this fixed? Management will use these reviews as input simply. They will interpret these reviews, okay, and they will arbitrate results. This is what happens to fix 360-degree reviews. There is no way to generate results directly from 360-degree reviews. So the team spends hours doing these reviews. The managers spend days every performance cycle. There's a calibration phase. Management arbitrates results. It has to be a closed door session. So let's say 5 managers doing calibration. It's impossible to have like 80 people sit in, listen to a calibration session. So it's a subjective closed door process. Even if managers are trying to be, fairest as possible, most unbiased they can, it will be seen as a people who aren't happy with the result will be seen as an unfair result. Okay. Oh, the manager doesn't like me, the manager doesn't know my work, the manager has a pet, the manager, all sorts of things, even if people are trying to be completely honest. And people, they'll make mistakes, they'll be simply tired after 22 hours of calibration. They're just, they're just copy and pasting results from other people.
So, Klaus, do you
Yes.
mind if I ask a
Yep.
very quick question in here? I mean, what you've described is a somewhat of a typical situation in an organization, maybe not in a room per se, but managers are asked to put their performance uh, criteria out there, and here's the rewards for my staff and so on. It rolls up
Mm-hmm.
the organization. Somebody, maybe a compensation committee or senior management team or whatever, is looking at that. And to your point, even though I'm somewhat divorced from the actual people I'm talking about way down in the organization, the politics of an organization come to the top. So maybe here's IT arguing about their staff that's doing so much of the work and
Mm-hmm.
automation and digitization, and HR that's going, hey, but who do you think's taking care of the people and union, all that kind of stuff. So in a sense, what you're doing is you're really what I call leveling the playing field. You really are
Mm-hmm.
taking that highly subjective perspective that puts it in from the ground up. The fact that
Mm-hmm.
others in the trenches are the ones that are kind of saying, here's our hero for our team. This is why they deserve
Mm-hmm.
it. And I bring that up because I think that's kind of at the essence of the reasoning behind this as well.
Yep.
Fairness at
Yep.
any level is great, but I think by the time you roll all the way up away from the trenches, you've lost your perspective and the politics comes to the top anyway.
Yeah, sure. And the decision of how large the cake will be. Suppose this team here on the left, right? The dots here on the left, 80 people. Suppose this is an IT team, right? How large is the entire cake going to be for IT? This is going to be discussed way up in the company. How much IT is going to get, for salaries, for compensation, how much, sales teams. These decisions are made. It's not up to the team to decide how big their own cake will be, right? It's up to them to decide how they'll share the cake. So this decision, how big the salary budget has to be, happens anyway in all companies. But the individual decision of how much each person should get, we're going to treat people as adults and say, okay, please decide, guys, how much how much each of you contributes, rather than treating them as kids and I'm going to decide for you. You get a bigger piece, you get a smaller piece, right? I hire the most intelligent people I can. I give them the most responsibility I can. I want them to be autonomous, and then I treat them as kids when I'm going to pay them. I don't want to be in that situation ever again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want them to decide for themselves. They might not be able to say, look, the cake has to be bigger because this is a company decision, but how they're going to share the cake, there's no reason for me to do that for them. Okay, it's a very stressful process. This these reviews and performance reviews and management calibration, it's very stressful, and many companies like the last decade have advocated for, HR gurus and a few companies advocated to abolish performance reviews altogether, right? But they're coming back because they simply have no input for compensation, for raises decision. So other mechanisms have to be in place, one-on-one feedbacks, frequent feedback, but you still have to have some sort of performance appraisal to base your decisions. Otherwise, they're simply, completely, it's just up to the manager, 100% subjective, and that's terrible, right?
Yeah.
So with Percival, what happens? Percival appraisals can directly, okay, the team will appraise each other here. We can directly produce, the slice of the pie for each person. Management can have oversight. So there might be some absurdities, like, I don't know, maybe the team has a single COBOL person, a COBOL programmer, and the team puts him down because they don't value COBOL, but it's strategic for the company. So management might say, you know what, this COBOL guy, I'm just going to take him out of the appraisal. I'm going to pay him that much because he's critical, and the team will understand that. That's okay. That's not unfair, right? So management still has, can surgically intervene if necessary, but if not, they can simply, use this result, and that's it, right? And they'll split these slices into pay grades, and these first 4 are one pay grade, the next 4 or 5 another pay grade, and so on. So it's minutes spent by team members. Yeah. Any questions now?
Not so far. I think you're doing
Oh,
fine. Yeah,
I
let's just,
thought
you're introducing new concepts that sometimes keeps us somewhat speechless, I guess is the way to put it.
okay.
We're absorbing. That's probably the best
No,
way to.
I heard something. I thought you were going to say something.
Oh, no.
So you get direct actionable results, and it's transparent and fair. It's completely collaborative, okay, and transparent. So how does this work? Okay, let's suppose this is the team: Anna, Diana, Bruno, Julia, Kelly, and Peter. If I ask Anand, okay, hey Anand, what's your opinion? How much should each person get? Who contributes the most? Who contributes the least? So this is his opinion. This is what he's thinking. He's thinking Kelly, has contributed the most, and then Ayana, and then there was sort of a gap, and then came Bruno and Peter. Okay, and he doesn't know anything about Julia's work. He didn't work with Julia. Julia's new in the team. So she's simply out of his opinion entirely. This is Ayana's opinion. She believes Kelly's on the top, and then Anand. Peter and Julia are tied, and Bruno comes in last. This is Bruno's opinion. Okay, Kelly and Ayana are tied at the top in his opinion. Anand, and then later come Julia and Peter. So this is, anyone you ask in a team, working in a team, who do you think, contribute the most? What do you think would be a fair compensation for the people in our team? Everyone has an opinion formed like this. You might have a stronger or weaker certainty if you don't know the someone's work very well, right? But you just by the fact that you're working with them every day, for months, you have the sense of who contributes the most to and the least to the team, right? This is Julia's opinion. She believes it's Ayana first, and then Kelly, and then Peter and Bruno. And she doesn't know anything about Anand's work, so Anand is outside of her opinion here. And finally, this is Kelly's opinion, so it's Ayana first. So you can see that people disagree, right? If I go back and forth here, you can see there's sort of, you know, Peter is normally down, Ayana and Kelly are up, but people disagree, right? They don't have the exact same. And the only way we can achieve fairness is by integrating all of these opinions. Okay, it's the only way we can achieve the most fairness, right? And Peter's opinion here. Percival will apply an algorithm and will balance all these relative appraisals to achieve the fairest possible result. Okay, the cake sharing I'll explain further. So this is how you express your opinion. Okay, in the tool, I'm saying Jamie had the best contribution here, and then Kelly and Kim came in second. Sydney and Andre came after that, and Alex was the last. Okay. So just by dragging and dropping cards like this is Julia's result in the tool. So she will simply express her opinion, right? The tool will capture the essence of what it is to express someone's opinion regarding compensation. So Julia will put Ayana up there, Kelly in second. She can leave a gap, and then Peter and Bruno. Okay. We're seeing 5 levels here, but there are infinite levels in the tool. Okay, up and down. It's an exponential scale, so it's infinite. Each level represents a 20% difference. So Julie is saying Ayana deserves 20% more than Kelly. Kelly deserves 20% times 20% more than Peter. It's 44%. Peter deserves 20% more than Bruno. Okay, a good rule of thumb is that 4 levels above is like twice. So she's saying that Ayana deserves twice, contributes twice as what Bruno has contributed. 20% difference between levels. You can have infinite levels. So appraisals are relative, right? This is very important. The levels, they aren't labeled. There's no meaning to a specific level. Okay. What Julia is doing here is she's expressing the difference in opinion. So she's saying whatever Kelly makes, whatever it is she makes, I believe Ayana should get 20% more, Peter 44% less, and Bruno 20% less than Peter. Okay, it's much more intuitive for people to appraise things relative to one another than in absolute scales. It's much more natural. That's the way human beings work, right? If I sing to notes, or if I play to notes on keys on a piano, very few people have an absolute ear to see, oh, this is a C, this is a G. But if I ask you which one is higher, if I play to notes, which one is higher, which one is lower, even if I play two adjacent keys, you will know, right? And these blue squares here, this blue indicator indicates the degree of certainty, how well Julia knows the work of each of these people. So from very low, medium, high, very high. Okay, it's like a level from 0 to 1, a weighting that she applies to her own appraisals.
So Klaus, I apologize for interrupting. You said something there about, the familiarity of a person's work, which is shown here in these boxes. How is that determined? I mean, what if I really don't work very much with a person? Is that an unfair perspective? I don't know what they do.
So Julia here, she works a lot with Peter, so it's 100% here, right, for her certainty. And then a bit less for Ayana, a bit less for Kelly and Bruno. And Anand isn't even here in the picture. For Anand, her result would be 0, so it's the same as not appraising Anand. What will happen is she will have less of an influence on Bruno's result than she does on Peter's results.
So you've taken the weighting, their familiarity with the work, and factored that in so that my opinion,
yes,
and where I've ended up with Peter on my rating scale. Okay, I see.
And most peer review processes become a popularity contest, because the people who have the most visibility, they are getting more. That's a problem. The main problem with merit money, for example, Management 3.0's merit money can only be used, for very small amounts for feedback purposes and not for compensation purposes. They know that, they admit that. And a reason for that is that some people aren't visible and some people are more visible. But with Percival, there's no correlation between visibility and results. I can show you later, actually, results from some of our clients that published that results. There's no correlation between visibility and the result. If only 2 people know your work, but they give you a good rating, you'll get a good result. If 20 people know your work, but they think it's poor, right? You'll have a poor result.
Gotcha. And I apologize. I don't want to make it sound like I'm doing anything except playing the user out here who's saying, but what about? In other words,
sure.
I won't say poking holes in your theory, but showing truly what you thought through in the process of understanding where the subjective and where the objective situations. How do I address the subjective? And I think you've done a great job so far.
Yeah. In any compensation process, there necessarily has to be a subjective step. Even if you try to use criteria and scales and stuff like that, someone has translate that to pay grades, and it's subjective, right? What will happen is, suppose Ayana here is a manager, okay, and she has this clearly in mind. Okay, she believes Kelly contributes most, and then Anand, and then Peter and Julia are tied, and then Bruno. Okay, so suppose she has this opinion already, and then she goes in to do objective reviews, objective performance reviews, right? She'll fill in 1,000 forms and 1,000 things. If the results are different here, if Anand comes up above Kelly, you know what she will do? She'll go back and she'll revise both appraisals so that she makes Kelly come up top. Oh, on second thought, maybe Anand isn't as good as this thing, and Kelly's better on that thing. She will sort of reverse engineer her appraisals simply because it's certain to her that Kelly is better than Anand. People are never surprised by their own reviews. They do. Okay, they'll simply make the reviews reflect the opinions they already have. So it's easier to simply, okay, just state your opinion. Okay, just state your opinion. It's easier. It's better. Let's not make a theater out of thing. This doesn't mean you shouldn't have facts and results and goals. But based on these facts and based on these results, now please give your opinion. So Percival will integrate all these relative appraisals, right? So it's relative appraisals with partial information in an exponential scale. Okay, Percival is the only algorithm that can integrate all that and produce a result like this. So Anand should get 17.1 of the pie, Ayana 19.3, Bruno 12.3, Julia 15.2, Kelly 21.2, Peter 14.9. Okay. Let me show you a result from an actual client of ours. So this is a result that a client of ours published. They have a 35-person team, okay, 5 squads. So they put the 5 squads in the same appraisal round in Percival, so that they got this result already calibrated for the 5 squads. Okay, they had people like product managers, designers, pair programming going on among squads. So they had some people capable of doing inter-squad appraisals. So they managed to get a consistent result for everyone in the 35-person team. So the person with the highest contribution was 4.7%. The person with the lowest contribution got 2.1%. If you add up all these, you'll have 100%. So if you think as a manager, okay, a manager who has to decide promotions and setting people's pay grades, imagine having, making this decision using this as input. It becomes, much easier, much simpler, because you have the team's actual opinion, right?
Right. So Bruce just asked a question, and that kind of related a little bit. So he said, so I'll quote him, how do you account for the salary differentials between individuals? Wouldn't they affect the total comp requirement, which could be bigger than the budget?
The salary differentials between individuals. So let's say you started out with current salaries. Okay, people already have their current salaries, and then you do an appraisal round using Percival. Okay, you use the tool, and then someone who has one of the lowest salaries appears here, like the third or fourth largest salary, because the team really recognizes this person. But let's say the company doesn't have budget to give people raises at this moment. Okay, so what I would do is I would only run these rounds when the company actually has a raise budget. So the thing, I'll never reduce people's salary, right?
No.
Their fixed pay. But when I have raises to give, when I have a budget for raises, who should get these raises, right? If I give unfair raises, like the case with Dan Price, people will leave. I will spend more money and I'll get worse results. So what I'll do is when I have a raise budget, I'll run an appraisal like this, and the people who are further away from what they should actually be getting, then these people will get raises. I'll use this to decide about the so it never happens that the team decides to increase the size of the pie. It's always how much of the pie should each person get, and the people who are most skewed, they'll be candidates for raises. That's how it works.
Right. So
If you have variable pay, it's easier. You can simply pay people variably directly with this result. But
yeah.
normally you don't. You have fixed salaries, right?
So if you don't mind, I'll extend very, very quickly what that might mean. If I'm looking at somebody who brought into the organization, is a very high contributor, really made a difference to the team, and they rated that person high to be deserving of shall we say, a larger piece of the pie. But maybe I have limitations on just how much of a raise I can give, or whatever. The point of it is, this is a great indicator that says maybe what I should be doing is stepping this person up through the promotional capabilities. And instead of reviewing them once a year, maybe I have an opportunity to give a bonus, or at the end of the day, it's not salary so much; it's compensation. And so there may be other vehicles that allow you to do that, where you're really kind of recognizing what this chart is saying to you. Have you ever seen an instance where somebody had such a small bar on there that they get nothing? Is that a possibility?
No, only if no one has appraised this person, right? No one, absolutely no one knows what this person does. So I have no data on this person. So the person simply doesn't have a bar there.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But yeah,
I've never seen that. I've never seen that happen.
This is so much of a like I say, leveling the playing field to taking the guesswork out of this. You're working with percentages, not dollars, which is a very good thing.
Yep.
The last question I have is, if this is the case, does this, to your point, maybe construct my way of looking at people who, I don't know how to say it. I'm going to do a performance review on these people. So I do this first. I use Percival first because I know I'm going to be giving people raises. And then from that, I should be able to correlate the kind of score they should be getting on their performance. In other words, if I am well thought of, and I'm on the left end of this line of the graph, I probably should be getting a very good performance review. Now, I asked that question more to your perspective. Is there a correlation between performance and this at all?
Typically, yes. The problem with performance reviews is that they are skewed up, right? There's typically a maximum result people can get. So let's say it's 100%, right? So some people get 99%, some will get 98, 97, and you get these results skewed to the top. That's a problem with using absolute scales in a performance review. And then you have to sort of force, you have to do, the rank and yank, you have to do the forced stuff to to solve this problem, because it's just people, helping each other. It's what we want from a team. They're ambitious, they're intelligent, they're helpful, they're collaborative. Of course, they'll rate each other well, right? Even if they're not cheating, they're positive, they're ambitious, they're helping each other. So this problem is inevitable in other non-zero sum schemes. But for what you said, I would invert it. I would do the performance reviews first, and then do the Percival round, so that people take into account the facts and whatever they have uncovered during performance review, they use that as input to their decision here, so that they have sort of a final, so they have to do the second take on this result here.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
This is Bruce. I got a question. So are you saying that everybody sees everybody's performance reviews and everybody sees everybody's compensation? I'm just trying to understand how this really works.
So this is configurable. It depends on the company. Some companies already have that, right? People know about others reviews, but at least you will know about the people you have reviewed, and you'll know about the reviews you have received. Even if you don't need to appraise someone that you don't have direct knowledge about.
Right.
I don't need to appraise people based on hearsay. Oh, no, I've said that that person is really good, so I'm going to praise him well. I don't need to do that. I just appraise the people directly that I do have direct knowledge about their work, and transitively, this it will work out, right? This is another result that Percival produces, which is if you add up. Remember the blue squares, right? It's a value from 0 to 1. So it's 0 0.1, 0 0.3, 0 0.6, 1.0. These the certainties, right? We call the certainty of each appraisal. If I add up all these certainties from the appraisals the person has made or received, if I add up the certainties of the appraisal the person has made, I get this green bar here, which we call knowledge. It's how well the person knows the team. Okay, so this person here, for example, knows like 14 people of the team. This person knows 9. So it's adding all the little bits, right? And the brown bar is how well the team knows your work, right? This person's work. We call it notoriety. So if you add up all the bits, you can see here in this case, the average was like 14 and no one got less than 10. So this is like 14 people appraising each other, appraising each person with 100% certainty, right? If we add all the little bits. So this is a very significant result. The results are very stable. Even if I eliminate, all appraisals by a single person, results vary very little. So it's really a group result and not a single individual, influencing everyone here. And here you can also see, so notoriety, this in brown is the visibility, how well people are seen, how visible people are. And you can see that there is no correlation between the blue, the actual final result. It's the same people in the same order. And you can see there, the brown line is all over the place and the blue line is of course, sorted here, right? So you can use these results here as a basis to decide, well, if someone's brown bar is very low here, the team doesn't know this person very well, maybe it's a new person, I won't make any decision like, firing this person or giving this person a raise. I can have an idea of how reliable these results are for each person. Okay. Let's go into cheating and those kinds of things. So one thing that the manager has as well, okay, is the manager will get a spreadsheet with the actual appraisals themselves, right? The raw appraisals. So I have Sydney appraising Alex, Sydney appraising Jamie. This is the certainty. The team result, okay, team set salaries result, and the appraiser's opinion. Okay, these numbers are all calculated here by Percival. And this is the difference in opinion, okay, in levels between what Sydney's appraisals of Alex and the team's result. So Sydney is appraising Alex 0.4 levels above the team, let's say. She's appraising Jamie 0.2 above the team. As it was a coincidence that she appraised Kelly, she agreed with the team here with Kelly. She's appraising Andre 0.1 below and Kim 0.5 levels below the team result. Okay, and you can see the other side as well, right? So okay, so these were the appraisals that Sydney made, and these are the appraisals that Sydney has received. So let's say, suppose Sydney and Alex were cheating, right? They're trying to help each other and saying, okay, I'm going to raise you 2-3 levels and vice versa. I could see here, okay, they're disagreeing. Sydney is disagreeing about Alex, disagreeing with the team, 2 or 3 levels above here, okay? And then I can take a look at Alex, how Alex is appraising Sydney, and I could see, oh, Alex is also appraising Sydney, let's say 2 levels above. Then I can call, the manager can call them for a chat, or the team can talk to them and say, hey, what's going on here? Why are you? And normally people have a good reason. Sydney might say, Alex is crushing it. She's every week she's spending 3 nights here and solving all the bugs. She helped all the new guys. She did the onboarding for the new guys. She fixed all the critical bugs, and no one can see this. Only I am seeing this, so that's why I have a different opinion, and that's okay. People have different opinion. We're integrating everyone's opinion, Okay, and that's how we get to the fairest possible result. But if they don't have a good reason, we know they're friends, and they don't have a good reason to disagree with the team, you can say, look, guys, just if you're so friendly and you can't help it, you just don't appraise each other. Okay,
Mhm.
just or you can say, uh, you can talk to people, and it's whatever the appropriate action has to be, but any attempt of cheating becomes immediately visible here in the results. Internally, Percival will limit, okay, we'll cap these outliers to half a level above or half a level below. So this value here, 1.7, will be capped internally to 0.5, right? You can see the 1.7 here, but internally it will consider 0.5. And if you add these results here, okay, for a single appraiser, for any single appraiser, you add these differences in opinion, you get 0. And if you add these differences in opinion, you'll get 0 here for the appraised as well. Okay, remembering that these values are capped to half and negative half. So this is the magic. This is the algorithm. This is what Percival does, right? And it's hard. It will balance out all the differences in opinion, okay, for all appraised and all appraisers simultaneously. So this is how we get to the fairest possible result.
So Klaus, there's a question in the chat, and unfortunately, Dennis has had to leave. He said he had an appointment he had to drop off, but he's asked maybe to have an email exchange. But let me pose this. I don't know all the terms, so I have to apologize. He says, a very interesting approach. This assumes a steady state, which is upset every time a new person joins the team. So what he's saying is, new person coming in, they don't know me, I don't know them. How does that even out over a period of time? And maybe it's just right before raise time or something. So I'll ask that question and then I'll come back to this next one. But go ahead and answer that one if you would.
Yeah, I'm using to work with agile teams and dynamic teams. When you have people joining, people leaving, you might have contractors working for a bit and leaving. You have pair programming among different teams. So yeah, if someone new joins, right, they will start doing their appraisals with very little. They'll have very little knowledge, right? They'll influence the team very little because they know the team. The certainties of their appraisals will be very low, and as they grow, as they know the team better, they will influence people's results more, and people will have a higher notoriety on their own results.
Okay. And then this is where I lose it a little bit, but maybe it's more of a conversation for you and he to have, and I'll get you both each other's emails. Traditional comp for STEM is to bring in new people, with COL. So I'm not quite sure what COL is. Adjustments thereafter. How do you account for this regular disruption, which I think you just pretty much answered it, among non-management staff? So as you say, the familiarity does breed a little bit more influence. People get to know you better. You know them better. Your rating, your familiarity allows you to have a better hire and perhaps a greater influence as time goes on. So I think you've pretty much addressed that, I think.
Yeah, it all boils down to the following. We have to decide, do we want to hear the team or do we want to decide for the team? If we want to decide for the team, right, then Percival doesn't apply. If we want to hear the team, then Percival is the best tool. It's the best solution. I don't want to work in any other way ever again. Okay, but it all boils down to this decision. Do I want to hear the team? Do I want to give this sort of autonomy to the team?
Yep. And I would suggest, whether it's raises, promotions, I mean, in a sense, it's kind of a parallel in the American baseball where the team will vote the most valuable player type of thing. Not the man, it's not the owner, it's the people who work with that person. So the concept is not foreign, but it sounds like you could even start this with just a bonus pool for a team.
Yes.
Something like that. As kind of an experimentation of the process, the fairness, if you will, and if you will, getting people used to the idea that they have contribution to the manager's perspective.
And you can have hybrid approaches too. One of our customers, a plastics industry, they did for the sales team 30% their traditional goals and commissions, 70% Percival round for the rest of the pie, because they wanted to promote collaboration. What happens is, instead of having a single boss now, which I have to show work to and suck up to and whatever, now it's like everyone is my boss. So the best behavior I can have is simply do my job, communicate well, help people, collaborate. It's the best way I can hack the system, let's say.
Yeah, very good. Okay, well, I'm showing us at about 7 minutes to the hour. Are there any other questions from the audience? Go ahead and please open up your mute button and ask away if you'd like, or any feedback that you can provide to Klaus about, so say relevancy from what you're seeing. How does this work? How does this not work? I mean, these are valuable perspectives. I gather we're pretty much close at the end of your presentation, right?
Oh yeah, I'm done.
Okay, perfect. So, comments, questions, perspectives? Anybody want to offer up anything? Okay, well, as always, in the absence of questions, I'll ask. So,
Okay.
where do you think the threshold is for this to work well? In other words, if I were in a large 1,000 or 2,000 person company, could I use this on just my team, maybe 10 people? And if you will, proof of concept is usually what we see in the software industry, where people have to say, well, show me how this would work, and then I'll think about the rest of the organization. So do you have that kind of concept in what people would use?
This is normally how it starts. Roche Pharmaceuticals use it for 3 teams, and it's 3 separate rounds. It's simply a manager deciding, well, I have to decide about your pay grades. I want this sort of input. They will use whatever process the company already has, but with an additional input of the team's opinion. So yes, if you have this autonomy at the company, and you as a manager can decide about people's pay grade, you can use Percival with your team. If you want to extend this, like this other company did for 7 squads, like working together in the same appraisal round, then there has to be at least some cross pollination. There has to be some sort of collaboration happening among teams, right? There's no limits to how many people can be in the teams, but there has to be collaboration. If you have silos where people really don't understand and don't collaborate, it's completely separate. This is the legal team, this is the product development team. They're completely, you don't even know each person's names. Then you have to do separate rounds. You can put everyone in the same round. The advantage of having more people in the round is that you get the results calibrated across teams, right? But otherwise, you can run separate rounds for different teams.
Great. So, question about
up to 5 people. Up to 5 people, it's for free. You can try. You play with the mechanics. You can see how it goes. Up to 5 people, it's free.
Actually, that's a pretty nice deal. So, like any good system, history. Do you track the history? So, in other words, if I did this, let's say the beginning of the year, and then mid-year decide to do it again, so that I can see that, if you will, even overlay where are the differences of opinion, how does the team progress? Gee, I'm getting a lot of people going to the left side of this thing for, everybody likes that, so well. In all honesty, they're all pretty equal. And then when we started the year, they were much more spread out. To me, this has so many other dimensions of usefulness in people understanding, feeling confident that their teammates are actually contributing, they're working towards the goals together, etc. I mean, there's dimensions of this that are out of even compensation. So I'd love to hear comments on that one.
Yep. Currently, the tool will produce like a history as spreadsheets for every date that you produced a result. You'll have a spreadsheet with the data. The tool doesn't do any calculations or integrations using history. But yes, I recommend before you give someone a pay raise, to see if that is something that, run the process like every quarter. And even if you do the pay raises only once a year, make sure that, every quarter was a good result for this person and not just a fluke last month, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the least, and it's easy to do with these results. But yes, it is. The data we have is really is rich in this sense that we can, um, see how well the team notoriety is doing, how well the average knowledge of the person is, who is moving left, who is moving right.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, in a sense, to me, what you're looking is in a sense the sentiment of the team for their teammates.
mm-hmm.
Which, like I say, if I were to bring a small little survey tool in here and other tools that we have seen in the Technology Review Council that would be augmenting using your data, that data, and so on, you've got a really interesting perspective on
Yep.
the workforce and the effectiveness of this team versus any others. So,
There are many tools that will give you qualitative feedback, right? Oh, this person has to improve this, has to improve that. This is what I like about the person.
yeah.
But Percival is the only tool that will give you quantitative feedback,
Right.
and this is my focus. It's,
Yeah.
you basically saw everything my tool has, because I only focus on this quantitative.
Well, and I think it's an important component. No doubt.
Sure.
But
We're agnostic. We're agnostic of which feedback process the companies will use for their qualitative. We
right.
even find it interesting to be separate. Otherwise, if you mix performance review like qualitative and salaries, it becomes a mercenary thing,
So I agree with you. That tends to
Yeah.
be what we see. I like your outlier perspective. So that's a nice little feature to have in there. So folks, any, shall we say, parting questions for Klaus? Anything else that you'd like to say? Like I said, of course, it's recorded, so feel free to go out to the YouTube channel if you want to share this with others in your organization. And other than that, I will say we are taking a week hiatus because of the U.S. holiday on Thursday, Thanksgiving. And then we'll be back the week after with other vendors. So again, Klaus, I thank you very much. This has been a very interesting and very different compensation program. I will tell you, I think that I like it. And I love the naming perspective. I had to ask.
Percival.
So around, okay, so everyone stay well, stay safe.
Folks can email me or add me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn works very well as well.
Yeah, I most definitely, Klaus, I will make sure that anybody who's any question, I will connect you with Dennis, of course. Just they know how to contact me. They know where I live as it is, and I'll make sure that you get any and all feedback. So
cool.
Again, thank you very, very much. Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stay well, everyone.
Bye-bye.